Welcome to the Ben Daniel Podcast, where we're calling a spade a spade. Great to be here with you today. This past weekend, Saturday night, was women's college basketball's moment. There was a few games that happened this season, a few high-profile games, but nothing higher of a profile than the Elite Eight rematch of last year. USC, JUJU Watkins, Kiki Iriefin walking into UConn, Hartford, Connecticut, and beating up on Paige Beckers, Gino Auriemma, Sarah Strong, and company. JUJU Watkins, 26 points. The first half was the JUJU show. The second half was Paige, showing you why Paige is who she is. We're not even 48 hours removed from that, and we have bozos like Stephen A. Myth, because his bio is a myth. Shout out to Jason Whitlock. We have Stephen A. Myth not letting JUJU and Paige just enjoy their moment. That's an issue that we consistently run into. Instead of just allowing players to enjoy their moment, we need to compare them to Caitlin Clark. We need to say they need to be getting what Caitlin Clark's getting. They're just as good as Caitlin Clark. And we sometimes come across as haters, but when we address that type of rhetoric, when we address that type of thought process, that's not hate. That's just calling a spade a spade. JUJU, your game's great. I'm not hating on you. But when Stephen A. Smith goes on First Take and says we should be talking about JUJU Watkins in the same manner as we talked about Caitlin Clark last year, I need to come here and I need to tell Stephen A. Smith, you sound ridiculous. You sound like you're just saying the most outlandish thing to get people to pay attention. Newsflash, you always say the most outlandish thing to get people to pay attention. JUJU Watkins needs to be on the same level as Caitlin Clark, needs to be spoken about the same level as Caitlin Clark. In case you guys missed it, let's take a listen, hear what Shannon Sharp had to say, and then we'll hear what Stephen A. Smith had to say.
I don't know if I've seen a woman college basketball player as polished as JUJU Watkins. Stephen A., the way she can put the ball on the floor, get to the rim, Euro step, one leg, three-point shot, mid-range shot, and she can play outstanding defense. She'll sit in the chair. She can block shots. She can slide. Stephen A., she is as polished as a basketball player as that we've seen at the women's level.
Yo, man, we should be talking about her the way we talked about Caitlin Clark last year. JUJU
Absolutely.
Special. JUJU special. I'm telling you that right now. She is the package. And she's going to be special.
Absolutely. Did JUJU Watkins put up a 40-point triple-double in the tournament? Okay, so we shouldn't be talking about her the same way we talk about Caitlin Clark. Okay, is JUJU Watkins leading the league in assists? No? Okay, so we shouldn't be talking about her the same way that we talked about Caitlin Clark. Is JUJU Watkins going after the all-time NCAA scoring record? No? Okay, so we shouldn't be talking about her the same way we talk about Caitlin Clark. Very interesting. Very interesting. This is the problem. We can't just let JUJU Watkins enjoy what she did on Saturday. We need to say, oh, well, she needs to be getting the same amount of credit as Caitlin Clark. Do you know when we should come here and talk about JUJU Watkins? Times like this past weekend. Times like today. When she has her moment. I didn't talk about Caitlin Clark in that JUJU Watkins Paige Beckers video. Didn't talk about it at all. Spoke about JUJU's game. Spoke about Lindsey Gottlieb. Spoke about Paige Becker. Spoke about Sarah Strong. Spoke about the first quarter, the first half, the second half, the seesaw, the back and forth. Spoke about all that stuff. I didn't put Caitlin Clark in the same conversation as JUJU and Paige. I made it in thought. I adamantly made it a thought to not do that. Meanwhile, on the flip side, these people on ESPN, they make it a point to only do that. All right, guys, what are we talking? We're talking women's college basketball. JUJU Watkins needs to be put in the same conversation as Caitlin Clark. Great idea. Let's get that on the show. All of these players we're talking about, JUJU, they're talking about... There's only one player that should be saying, I'm getting overlooked by all of you people. I'm getting overlooked by all of you analysts over there. Stephen A. Smith, Shannon Sharp, you guys are talking about JUJU Watkins. Excuse me. Don't you remember that I beat her down? Don't you remember that me and Olivia Miles showed USC what's up? Hannah Hidalgo is the one that should be saying, talk about me, talk about me, talk about me. Hannah Hidalgo is the one that's versing top 25 teams and kicking ass and taking names. Against TCU, Haley Van Lith, 27 points, 9 rebounds, 5 assists. 24 points, 8 assists, 6 rebounds against USC. Against UConn, 29 points, 10 rebounds, 8 assists, 8 for 17. Hannah Hidalgo beat UConn. Hannah Hidalgo beat USC. And we got Stephen A. Smith and Shannon Sharp talking about JUJU Watkins. Talking about putting her in the same conversation as Caitlin Clark. Caitlin Clark saw Paige Beckers in the tournament. How'd that go? Ask Paige. One of them stayed in college, and one of them said, yeah, I'll go to the WNBA. I'll try my luck over there. You know when the next time we're going to be talking about JUJU Watkins is? When she comes to Caitlin Clark's jersey retirement ceremony. When they're talking about Caitlin Clark getting her jersey retired for Iowa against USC, against the Trojans. Folks, Hannah Hidalgo this year is averaging 25 points, 6.5 rebounds, nearly 4 assists per game. We compare that to JUJU Watkins, 24 points, 5.5 rebounds, nearly 4 assists per game. Tania Latson gets absolutely no credit at all for Florida State. She's a walking bucket, a scoring machine. She's giving you 27 a game, 5 boards, 4 assists. How come we're not talking about her? No, but we'd rather talk about Paige, who's giving us 20 points per game. If there's any player in the country right now that should have an issue with the current conversation taking place in women's college basketball, it's Hannah Hidalgo. If we're talking National Player of the Year, it's Hannah Hidalgo. If you want to have who's going to be the number 1 pick in the 2027 draft discussion, that we can talk about JUJU Watkins, Hannah Hidalgo, Mylasia Fulwiley, Booker. We could talk about that. We can have that conversation. But when we're talking about this year, when we're talking about right now, when we're talking about Player of the Year discussion, it's Hannah Hidalgo clear as day. There's an aggression. There's an attitude. There's a nastiness. She's from Jersey. Salute. But Stephen A. Smith coming on here and saying, oh, JUJU Watkins needs to have the same amount of conversation that we were talking about her like Caitlin Clark. No, she hasn't earned any of that. She doesn't deserve any of that. She deserves to get talked about the amount of the right amount of times. And so far this season, it's been the right amount of times. That's the problem with women. If we have more go-to key matchups with USC, UConn, USC Notre Dame, USC Texas, USC Ole Miss, that was the first game of the season, but you guys understand, you guys are picking up what I'm putting down. There needs to be more high-profile matchups, so we're coming back Monday morning talking about it. Folks, I'm looking at the NCAA women's college basketball schedule, and it's like a whole week and a half until we get a big matchup. It's a whole 10 days before we see a marquee matchup, before we see 2 real teams. Not 2 ranked teams, 2 real teams go head-to-head. That's an issue. And that's something that needs to be addressed. Let me know what you think in the comment section below. Stephen A. Smith. These people just can't let these players enjoy their moment. This does nothing but take away JUJU Watkins. Instead of us talking about how great of a game, now we need to talk about why she doesn't deserve to be in certain conversations. Let me know what you think in the comment section below. I appreciate all the support. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. We'll see you next time, and as always, take it easy.